A dream career built on love. Maya Rodriguez had always believed in fairy tales. Not the old-fashioned kind with glass slippers and princes, but the modern version where hard work met passion and created something beautiful. At 28 years old, she owned Forever Yours, the most sought-after wedding planning company in Manhattan. Her calendar was booked 18 months in advance, and brides cried tears of joy when she agreed to take their events. But Maya's success wasn't born from business school or family connections. It came from something deeper, something real. She believed in love because she had found it herself. Daniel Mitchell, her fiancé of 5 years, was her foundation, her inspiration, her reason for believing that happily ever after existed beyond the ceremonies she created for others. They had met in college, two ambitious students who collided in a crowded library during finals week. Daniel was studying architecture. Maya was majoring in event management. Their first conversation lasted 6 hours, stretching from afternoon sunlight to the midnight closing bell. From that moment, they became inseparable. Daniel supported Maya when she quit her corporate job to start her own business. He held her hand through failed events, difficult clients, and sleepless nights. When her company finally took off 3 years ago, he was the first person she called, screaming with joy into the phone while standing in her tiny office. "We made it," she had whispered that night, wrapped in his arms on their apartment balcony. "You made it," Daniel corrected, kissing her forehead. "I just had the privilege of watching." Now, 5 years into their relationship, Maya was finally planning the one wedding that mattered most, her own. The perfect wedding takes shape. The engagement had come last spring during a trip to Paris. Daniel had proposed beside the Seine River at sunset, with a ring he had designed himself. The diamond caught the golden light, and Maya said yes before he even finished his prepared speech. She remembered laughing and crying at the same time, tourists clapping around them, the Eiffel Tower glittering in the background like it was all staged just for them. Planning her own wedding felt different from planning for clients. Every detail carried weight, every choice felt significant. Maya wanted something elegant but intimate, romantic but not overly traditional. She chose a vineyard in upstate New York, a place where rolling hills met endless sky. The ceremony would happen at sunset, with 200 guests, a string quartet, and flowers that would make people forget to breathe. She had been working on the plans for 3 months, and everything was falling into place perfectly. The invitations had been sent, the menu finalized, the dress altered to fit like a dream. Maya had even hired Sophie Chun, her best friend since high school, as her maid of honor and unofficial assistant for all things wedding-related. Sophie had been there for everything. Late-night planning sessions, cake tastings, dress fittings, debates over color schemes. They laughed until their stomachs hurt, cried over sentimental moments, and built a wedding that felt like a celebration of not just Maya and Daniel, but of friendship and family and the beautiful life Maya had created. "You deserve this," Sophie had told her just last week, squeezing her hand across the table at their favorite coffee shop. "After everything you've done for others, you deserve the most perfect day imaginable." Maya had smiled, feeling grateful beyond words. She had her career, her partner, her best friend, and a future that glowed bright with possibility. She had no idea that everything was built on lies. The message that shattered everything. It happened on a Tuesday evening in September, exactly 4 months before the wedding date. Maya had been working late at her office, finalizing seating. Arrangements for a client's reception. Daniel texted saying he would be home late, something about a project deadline at the architecture firm. Maya decided to surprise him by stopping at his favorite Italian restaurant to pick up dinner. She arrived home around 8:30, balancing pasta containers and garlic bread, using her elbow to push open the apartment door. The place was dark and quiet. Daniel wasn't home yet. Maya set the food on the kitchen counter and walked to the bedroom to change out of her work clothes. That's when she saw Daniel's iPad on the bed, screen glowing with an incoming message notification. Maya normally wouldn't have looked. She trusted Daniel completely, respected his privacy, never felt the need to check his devices or question his whereabouts. But something about the notification made her pause. Maybe it was the timestamp showing it was the 5th message in the last 10 minutes. Maybe it was the preview of words she could see on the locked screen. She picked up the iPad. The messages were from someone saved as S. Chun. "Sophie, Maya's heart began to race, though she told herself there was nothing wrong. Sophie and Daniel were friends too. They often coordinated surprises for Maya, discussed wedding details, shared jokes in group chats. This was probably something innocent, something wedding-related. She unlocked the iPad using the passcode Daniel had shared with her years ago. The Messages app opened, and Maya's world tilted sideways. The truth in black and white. The conversation thread stretched back months. Hundreds of messages. Thousands of words. Maya's hands trembled as she scrolled upward, reading backwards through time, watching her relationship unravel in reverse. Sophie, I miss you already. Can't wait until Friday. Daniel, same here. 3 more days feels like forever. Sophie, we have to be more careful. She almost saw us at the venue last week. Daniel, I know, but I can't stay away from you. Maya's breath caught in her throat. She kept scrolling, going further back, finding messages from 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago. The affair had been going on since March, since right after the engagement, since the exact moment Maya thought her life was becoming complete. There were plans for secret meetings, hotels booked under fake names, discussions about how to hide evidence, how to act natural around Maya, how to steal moments together while Maya worked late or traveled for events. And there were messages about the wedding itself. Sophie, do you think you'll really go through with it? Daniel, I don't know. I can't hurt her, but I can't imagine my life without you either. Sophie, maybe after the wedding, we can figure something out. She'll be so busy with work, she might not even notice. Daniel, you're terrible, but I love you. Sophie, I love you too. Maya dropped the iPad onto the bed like it had burned her. She staggered backward until her shoulders hit the wall, then slowly slid down to sit on the floor. Her vision blurred with tears. Her chest felt like someone had reached inside and was squeezing her heart until it stopped beating. The 2 people she loved most in the world had been lying to her for months. While she planned their future, they were planning their betrayal. While she arranged flowers and tasted cake and wrote vows about eternal love, they were laughing behind her back, stealing time together, building something secret and cruel in the shadows of her trust. The decision that changed everything. Maya sat on that floor for over an hour. She cried until her throat ached and her eyes burned. She read through more messages until the words stopped making sense. She found photos they had sent each other, intimate moments captured when Maya had been busy creating magic for strangers. When Daniel's key turned in the front door lock, Maya heard it from the bedroom. She heard him call out her name cheerfully, asking if she'd W. Heard him discover the food she had brought. Heard him thank her sweetly through the apartment. Maya? Baby, where are you? Something inside Maya went cold and hard. She wiped her tears, stood up, smoothed her clothes. She left the iPad on the bed, screen dark now, holding all those terrible secrets in its silent memory. She walked out of the bedroom with a smile on her face. Hey, she said, her voice remarkably steady. Sorry, I was just changing. How was work? Daniel smiled at her, that same warm smile she had loved for 5 years. He crossed the kitchen and kissed her forehead, exactly the way he always did. Long day, but better now that I'm home. You brought dinner? You're amazing. Maya looked at him, really looked at him, and saw a stranger wearing her fiancé's face. Every touch felt like poison. Every word felt like a knife. But she kept smiling. Of course, she said. I wanted to surprise you. They ate dinner together. They talked about their days, about the wedding plans, about a movie they wanted to see on the weekend. Daniel seemed perfectly normal, perfectly loving, perfectly capable of looking her in the eyes while hiding the truth. And Maya matched him, word for word, smile for smile, lie for lie. The plan begins to form. That night, after Daniel fell asleep beside her, Maya lay awake in the darkness, staring at the ceiling. Her mind raced through options, possibilities, consequences. She could confront them. She could scream and cry and demand explanations. She could call off the wedding, end the relationship, cut Sophie out of her life. She could take the easy path of immediate pain and quick endings. But as Maya lay there, something different began to bloom in her chest. Not just hurt, not just anger, but something colder and sharper. She was a wedding planner. She created perfect events, managed hundreds of details simultaneously, anticipated problems before they happened. She orchestrated celebrations that people remembered for the rest of their lives. If she could create perfect weddings, couldn't she create the perfect revenge? Maya turned her head slowly to look at Daniel sleeping peacefully beside her, his face relaxed and innocent in the moonlight filtering through the curtains. He had no idea that she knew. Sophie had no idea either. They thought they were so clever, so careful, so safe in their betrayal. They had underestimated her completely. A plan began to form in Maya's mind, piece by piece, detail by detail. It would take time. It would take patience. It would take the kind of careful planning she used for her most elaborate events. But Maya had 4 months until the wedding, 4 months to prepare something that Daniel and Sophie would never forget. She wouldn't cancel the wedding. She wouldn't confront them yet. She would let them think they had won. Let them believe their secret was safe. Let them continue their affair right up until the moment when everything they had built on lies would come crashing down in the most public, most humiliating way possible. Maya smiled in the darkness, though her eyes were still wet with tears. The wedding would go on, but it wouldn't be the celebration they expected. It would be a masterpiece. 6 months of silent transformation. The next morning, Maya woke up and became someone new. On the outside, nothing changed. She still kissed Daniel goodbye when he left for work. She still met Sophie for coffee to discuss bridesmaid dress fittings. She still smiled and laughed and talked about the future with excitement in her voice. But inside, Maya was building something else entirely. She created a secret email account that Daniel and Sophie didn't know about. She started documenting everything, taking screenshots of their messages whenever Daniel left his iPad unlocked, backing up evidence to a secure cloud storage. She learned Daniel's patterns, his excuses, his lies. She noticed how Sophie's eyes would flicker with guilt during their planning sessions, how she would change the subject when Maya talked about trust and loyalty. Maya also began changing herself in ways that had nothing to do with revenge. She started going to therapy, working through her pain with a professional who helped her understand that her worth wasn't defined by their betrayal. She joined a gym and discovered that physical strength made her feel mentally stronger too. She reconnected with old friends she had neglected while building her business and maintaining her relationship. Most importantly, Maya protected her heart. She stopped sleeping with Daniel, making excuses about wedding stress and wanting their wedding night to be special. She created distance without being obvious about it, pulling back emotionally while maintaining the appearance of a devoted fiancé. And every day, she refined her plan. The wedding would happen exactly as scheduled. Every detail would be perfect. Every moment would be beautiful, right up until the reception. And then, in front of 200 guests, in front of both families, in front of every friend and colleague and distant relative who had come to celebrate their love, Maya would reveal the truth in a way that no one would ever forget. She was going to give them the wedding of their nightmares. And she was going to walk away with her head held high, knowing that she had taken back her power, her dignity, and her future from the people who thought they could steal it without consequences. The countdown began. 4 months became 3, then 2, then 1. Daniel and Sophie had no idea what was coming. But Maya knew, and she was ready. The final week before everything changed. The week before the wedding moved like a dream wrapped in fog. Maya went through every motion with perfect precision, checking off items on her lists, confirming vendors, finalizing details. To everyone around her, she appeared to be the picture of a blissful bride counting down to her perfect day. Daniel grew more attentive as the date approached, perhaps feeling guilty, perhaps genuinely excited. He brought her flowers on Tuesday, cooked dinner on Wednesday, and on Thursday night, he held her close and whispered that he couldn't wait to spend forever with her. Maya smiled and kissed him back, all while knowing that forever would end in exactly 3 days. Sophie had been more nervous, her guilt showing through in small ways. She fumbled with words during their final bridesmaid lunch, spilled wine on the tablecloth, kept asking Maya if everything was okay between them. Maya reassured her every time, holding her hand across the table, telling her that she was grateful to have such a loyal friend by her side. The lie tasted like poison, but Maya swallowed it down. On Friday, the day before the wedding, Maya's mother arrived from California. Maria Rodriguez took one look at her daughter and pulled her into the kitchen, away from Daniel and the chaos of last-minute preparations. Mija, her mother said quietly in Spanish, studying Maya's face with the intensity only a mother could manage. Something is wrong. I can see it in your eyes. Maya had prepared for this moment. She couldn't tell her mother the truth. Not yet, but she couldn't lie completely either. Mama, Maya said carefully, tomorrow is going to be a very difficult day, but I need you to trust me. No matter what happens, know that I'm strong enough to handle it, and that everything I do with my eyes wide open. Her mother's face filled with concern. What are you saying? Are you having second thoughts about Daniel? Into a soft train. She had chosen it months ago, before she knew the truth, back when she thought this day would be the happiest of her life. Now it felt like armor. Sophie came in wearing her bridesmaid dress, a soft blush color that complemented her skin tone beautifully. She looked genuinely happy, probably believing that after today, she and Daniel could continue their affair with even less suspicion. Maya, as a wife, busy with married life and business, would be even easier to deceive. You look absolutely beautiful, Sophie said, her eyes glistening with what might have been real tears. I'm so happy for you, Maya. You deserve all of this. Maya turned from the window and looked at her former best friend. For just a moment, she allowed herself to feel the full weight of the betrayal. This was the girl she had shared secrets with since they were 14. The girl who had held her hair back when she was sick, who had celebrated every success and mourned every failure. The girl she had trusted with her whole heart. And Sophie had chosen to destroy that trust for stolen moments with a man who was never truly hers. Thank you, Maya said simply. For everything. Sophie smiled, not hearing the finality in those words. The ceremony began at 5 o'clock exactly. Maya's brother walked her down the aisle while her mother watched from the front row, her earlier concerns momentarily forgotten in the beauty of the moment. Guests stood and turned, some dabbing at their eyes, others smiling broadly. And at the end of the aisle, Daniel waited. He looked handsome in his tuxedo, his expression tender as he watched Maya approach. When she reached him, he took her hands in his, and for anyone watching, they looked like a couple deeply in love. The officiant began the ceremony with words about love, commitment, and the sacred bond of marriage. Maya heard herself responding at the right moments, her voice steady and clear. She looked into Daniel's eyes as they exchanged vows that he probably meant in the moment, not understanding that meaning something and doing something were entirely different things. When it came time for the rings, Daniel slid the band onto Maya's finger with a smile that would have broken her heart months ago. Now it just strengthened her resolve. I now pronounce you husband and wife, the officiant declared. You may kiss your bride. Daniel pulled Maya close and kissed her as their guests applauded and cheered. The quartet swelled into a joyful recessional piece. Rose petals were thrown. Cameras flashed. To everyone present, it was a perfect wedding ceremony. But Maya knew it was just the opening act. The real performance was yet to come. The reception begins. The reception was held in a rustic barn that had been transformed into something magical. Thousands of string lights hung from the wooden beams, creating a canopy of stars. Tables were dressed in crisp white linens with centerpieces of wildflowers and candles. A band set up in the corner, ready to play everything from jazz standards to contemporary hits. As Maya and Daniel entered the reception to enthusiastic applause, Maya caught her mother's eye. Maria was watching her daughter with an expression that mixed joy with concern, still sensing that something was not quite right. The evening progressed exactly as planned. The first dance, dinner service, toast from the best man and maid of honor. Sophie's toast was particularly difficult to sit through. She spoke about their friendship, about how Maya had always been there for her, about the unbreakable bond between them. Maya is the most loyal person I know, Sophie said, her voice trembling with emotion that might have been guilt disguised as sentiment. She loves with her whole heart, and she never gives up on the people she cares about. Daniel, you're the luckiest man in the world. Moment. Maya squeezed back, letting him think everything was fine. As dessert was being served, Maya stood up. The room gradually quieted as people noticed the bride standing, a microphone in her hand. Thank you all for being here, Maya began, her voice amplified across the barn. It means the world to me to be surrounded by the people I love most on this special day. Guests smiled, settling in for what they assumed would be a typical bride's speech, grateful and emotional. When I started planning this wedding, Maya continued, I thought I was planning the happiest day of my life. I spent months obsessing over every detail, wanting everything to be perfect. Because I believed in perfection. I believed in fairy tales. I believed that love conquered all. Daniel looked at her with a slightly confused smile, not sure where this was going, but not yet alarmed. But somewhere along the way, Maya said, her voice growing stronger, I learned that perfection is an illusion. And fairy tales are just stories we tell ourselves to avoid facing difficult truths. The room had gone completely silent now. Guests exchanged uncertain glances. Maya's eyes found Sophie in the crowd. I learned that the people you trust most can lie to your face while telling you they love you. I learned that loyalty means nothing to some people. And I learned that sometimes, the person sleeping beside you at night is dreaming about someone else. Daniel's face had gone pale. He stood up slowly. Maya, what are you? Sit down, Daniel, Maya said calmly. I'm not finished. The truth revealed. A large screen descended from the ceiling, something Maya had arranged weeks ago, telling the venue staff it was for a surprise video tribute. The lights dimmed slightly, and the screen flickered to life. I want to show you all something, Maya said. Because I believe that truth matters. Even when it's painful. Especially when it's painful. The screen displayed a text message conversation. The words were large enough for everyone to read, and a collective gasp rippled through the crowd as people began to understand what they were seeing. Daniel, I miss you already. Can't wait until Friday. Sophie, same here. 3 more days feels like forever. More messages appeared, scrolling slowly so everyone could read them. Messages about secret meetings, about hiding their relationship, about laughing at Maya's obliviousness. The dates showed clearly. The affair had been going on for months, overlapping with wedding planning, continuing right up to this very day. Sophie had gone completely white. She was shaking her head, mouth opening and closing soundlessly. Daniel had sat back down, his face in his hands. These messages are between my husband, Maya paused, letting the word hang in the air, and my maid of honor. My best friend since we were 14 years old. The 2 people I trusted most in this world. The screen changed to show photos. Daniel and Sophie at restaurants Maya didn't recognize, holding hands across tables. Daniel and Sophie entering a hotel together, timestamps showing dates when Daniel had told Maya he was working late. Daniel and Sophie kissing in a parking lot, looking around nervously as if afraid of being caught. Maya had hired a private investigator 6 weeks ago. The evidence was irrefutable. I found out about this affair 4 months ago, Maya continued, her voice remarkably steady despite the chaos erupting in the room. I found the first message by accident. Then I found hundreds more. And I had a choice to make. She looked directly at Daniel, who was now standing again, trying to speak, but seemingly unable to find words. I could have canceled this wedding, Maya said. I could have confronted you both privately, ended things quietly, and moved on with my life. But that felt too easy, too simple. Because what you both did wasn't simple. It was calculated. It was cruel. And it deserved a response that matched its cruelty. The speech that changed everything. Maya's mother had stood up, moving closer to the head table, her face a mixture of horror and fierce pride as she began to understand what her daughter was doing. So I decided to let this day happen, Maya continued. I let you both believe that your secret was safe. I let you think you had gotten away with it. And I planned this moment, right here, right now, in front of everyone who came here believing they were celebrating love. She paused, looking around the room at 200 stunned faces. But here's the thing about love. Real love doesn't hide. Real love doesn't sneak around in shadows. Real love doesn't betray the person who trusts you most. What Daniel and Sophie had wasn't love. It was selfishness. It was cowardice. And I refused to let them rewrite the story to make themselves feel better. Sophie had started crying, mascara running down her face. Several guests had their phones out, recording. Maya had expected this, had planned for it even. Let the world see. Let everyone know exactly what kind of people Daniel and Sophie were. Daniel, Maya said, turning to face him directly. You had 5 years to tell me the truth. 5 years to be honest about what you wanted. Instead, you proposed to me. Let me plan this wedding. Let me believe in a future that you were destroying behind my back. That's not love. That's cruelty. Maya, please. Daniel finally managed to speak, his voice breaking. Let me explain. There's nothing to explain, Maya cut him off. Text messages don't lie. Photos don't lie. The only liars here are you and Sophie. She turned to Sophie, who was being held up by another bridesmaid, looking like she might collapse. And you, Maya said, her voice harder now. You stood beside me for months, helping me plan this day, listening to me talk about trustin'. Forever. You gave a toast 20 minutes ago about loyalty. You called me the most loyal person you know. And all the while, you were sleeping with my fiancé. The room was completely silent except for some quiet crying. Maya's brother had moved to stand near their mother, both of them watching Maya with expressions of pain and support. So here's what's going to happen now, Maya said, setting down the microphone and removing her wedding rings. She placed them on the table with a decisive click. I'm walking out of here. I'm starting over. I'm building a life that isn't contaminated by lies. She looked at Daniel one last time. You're not my husband. This marriage is invalid because it was built on fraud and deception. My lawyer will be in touch about the annulment. Then she looked at Sophie. And you're not my friend. You never were. Real friends don't do what you did. Walking away with dignity. Maya picked up her dress slightly, preparing to leave, when something unexpected happened. Someone in the back of the room started clapping. Then another person joined in. Then another. Within seconds, half the room was applauding. Not for the wedding, but for Maya. For her courage, for her strength, for refusing to be a victim even in the face of devastating betrayal. Maya's mother reached her first, pulling her into a fierce embrace. My brave girl, she whispered in Spanish. My strong, brave girl. Her brother was there next, followed by several friends who had always been more hers than Daniel's. They formed a protective circle around her as she walked toward the exit, her head held high, her steps steady and sure. Behind her, chaos erupted. Daniel was trying to follow her, shouting apologies that meant nothing. Sophie had collapsed into a chair, sobbing uncontrollably. Guests were arguing, some defending Daniel and Sophie, others condemning them. Family members were shouting at each other. The perfect wedding had dissolved into exactly the kind of scene Maya had But Maya didn't look back. She walked out of that barn, out of the vineyard, into the cool evening air where a car was waiting for her. Another detail she had planned weeks in advance. Her mother climbed in beside her. Where are we going, Mija? Hotel, Maya said, surprising herself with how calm she sounded. I have a suite booked. Tomorrow we'll figure out the rest. As the car pulled away from the vineyard, Maya looked out the window one last time. She could see people spilling out of the barn, could see Daniel on his knees in the parking lot, could see Sophie being led away by her horrified parents. She had done it. She had executed her plan perfectly. She had exposed their betrayal in the most public, most undeniable way possible. And now she was free. The immediate aftermath. The hotel suite was quiet and peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos Maya had left behind. She stood in the bathroom, carefully removing her wedding dress, the beautiful gown that had been meant for a celebration but had instead become a costume for the performance of her life. Her mother helped her with the buttons, silent but supportive, waiting for Maya to be ready to talk. When the dress was finally off, hanging on the back of the door like a ghost of what might have been, Maya sat on the edge of the bathtub in her slip and started to cry. Not delicate tears, but deep, wrenching sobs that came from a place of profound pain and equally profound relief. Maria held her daughter, rocking her gently, not saying anything because there was nothing to say. Sometimes pain just needed to be felt. I loved him, Maya finally gasped between sobs. I really loved him, Mama. I know, Mija. I know. And Sophie, she was my best friend. How could they? I don't know, her mother said honestly. Some people are broken in ways we can't see until it's too late. But you're not broken, Maya. You're stronger than both of them combined. But Maya didn't look back. She walked out of that barn, out of the vineyard, into the cool evening air where a car was waiting for her. Another detail she had planned weeks in advance. Her mother climbed in beside her. Where are we going, Mija? Hotel, Maya said, surprising herself with how calm she sounded. I have a suite booked. Tomorrow we'll figure out the rest. As the car pulled away from the vineyard, Maya looked out the window one last time. She could see people spilling out of the barn, could see Daniel on his knees in the parking lot, could see Sophie being led away by her horrified parents. She had done it. She had executed her plan perfectly. She had exposed their betrayal in the most public, most undeniable way possible. And now she was free. The immediate aftermath. The hotel suite was quiet and peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos Maya had left behind. She stood in the bathroom, carefully removing her wedding dress, the beautiful gown that had been meant for a celebration but had instead become a costume for the performance of her life. Her mother helped her with the buttons, silent but supportive, waiting for Maya to be ready to talk. When the dress was finally off, hanging on the back of the door like a ghost of what might have been, Maya sat on the edge of the bathtub in her slip and started to cry. Not delicate tears, but deep, wrenching sobs that came from a place of profound pain and equally profound relief. Maria held her daughter, rocking her gently, not saying anything because there was nothing to say. Sometimes pain just needed to be felt. I loved him, Maya finally gasped between sobs. I really loved him, Mama. I know, Mija. I know. And Sophie, she was my best friend. How could they? I don't know, her mother said honestly. Some people are broken in ways we can't see until it's too late. But you're not broken, Maya. You're stronger than both of them combined. They stayed like that for a long time, until Maya's tears finally slowed, until she could breathe normally again, until the worst of the emotional storm had passed. What you did tonight took incredible courage, her mother said softly. I'm so proud of you. Was it wrong? Maya asked, her voice small and uncertain now that the adrenaline had faded. Was it too cruel? Her mother pulled back to look at her daughter's face. They betrayed you for months, Mija. They lied to your face every single day. They were prepared to let you marry a man who was cheating on you, to start a marriage built entirely on deception. What you did was hold up a mirror and force them to see themselves. That's not cruel. That's justice. Maya nodded slowly, wanting to believe her mother's words, but still feeling the weight of what she had done. Revenge felt good in the moment, but now, in the quiet of this hotel room, she felt drained and empty. Her phone was buzzing constantly, but she had turned off notifications. She knew there would be hundreds of messages, some supportive, some critical, some from reporters who had already gotten wind of the viral video that was undoubtedly spreading across social media. What do I do now? Maya asked. Her mother smiled gently. Now you rest. Tomorrow you wake up. And the day after that, you begin rebuilding. One day at a time, Mija. One day at a time. The night the world changed. Maya woke up several times during the night, each time momentarily forgetting what had happened, then remembering in a rush of emotion. By the time morning light crept through the hotel curtains, she had been awake for an hour, lying still and staring at the ceiling. Her phone sat on the nightstand, screen dark, holding all the reactions she wasn't ready to face yet. The wedding that was supposed to be the beginning of her happily ever after had instead become the ending of everything she thought she knew about her life. But as Maya lay there in the quiet, something unexpected began to bloom in her chest. Not happiness exactly, but something close to it. Peace, maybe. Or relief. The truth was out. The lies were exposed. She was hurt, devastated even, but she was also free. Free from a relationship built on deception. Free from a friendship that was hollow at its core. Free from the weight of living a life that looked perfect but was rotting from the inside. Her mother stirred in the other bed, waking up and immediately checking on Maya. How are you feeling, Mija? Maya thought about the question honestly. Terrible, she admitted. But also lighter. Like I was carrying something heavy for so long that I forgot it was there, and now it's gone. That's the weight of lies, her mother said. Other people's lies that you were forced to carry. Now you've put it down. They ordered room service for breakfast, neither of them ready to face the outside world yet. As they ate, Maya finally turned on her phone. The notifications were overwhelming. Hundreds of messages, missed calls, social media alerts. But mixed in with the chaos were messages that made Maya's eyes well up with tears again, the good kind this time. From former clients, you gave me my dream wedding. I'm sorry yours ended like this, but I admire your strength. From college friends, I always thought Daniel wasn't good enough for you. Now the world knows it too. From women Maya had never met. Thank you for showing that we don't have to be victims. Thank you for standing up for yourself. And one message from Catherine Torres, the wedding planner she had assisted early in her career. Maya, if you need anything, a job, a reference, a place to stay, a friend, I'm here. What you did took guts. Don't let anyone make you feel bad about it. Maya read that message 3 times, her heart swelling with gratitude. The world is watching, her mother observed, looking at her own phone where clips of the wedding were being shared in Disco.